Off top, the law of conservation of matter states that nothing on this earth is new. Everything that is here has always been here in different forms. So, brand new football might have been part dinosaur. Doesn't matter how many players we move around or coaches or quarterbacks, you know what remains the same? Patrick Mahomes is the man. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
All right, so we hopped into the DeLorean for this podcast, a little bit of time traveling. So, Charlie, the end of that game was bananas. What was the dumbest thing that you saw? Because I had two.
Okay. I don't know if it was the dumbest thing, but the thing that, of course, made me laugh the most is Russ went to Denver so that he could cook, and cooking for him was going to the sideline on 4th and 5 and letting Brandon McManus miss a 64-yard field goal.
So, yeah, that was the dumbest thing, is to kick a 64-yard field goal when you have Russell Wilson. So, the funny thing about the whole let Russ cook thing, to me at least, is he wanted to be freed kind of from the restrictions, so he put up a bunch of passing yards and not that many points. So it's a little bit unfair to put it all on him for this one particular game, but in this situation, like it kind of feels accurate, particularly because the defense, the Broncos defense, was awesome, and Bradley Chubb tried to end the game for him twice, or at least put Russell in position to end the game for him twice with those two big sacks. Like, the defense was great, while Geno was also like really good. Is it possible that like he missed his call? He was behind a lot of good quarterbacks and he like missed his opportunity because of the broken jaw?
Yeah, Geno is someone I think we just like to make fun of initially, and that like the perception of Geno Smith became reality, but he was, we didn't really know if he was good or bad by the time he became a perennial backup quarterback. But one of the things I find fascinating is this game was just like, it's like you said, the Broncos probably should have won this game, but it was red zone defense. The game was won on the margins. And I'm not going to lie. The second funniest part to me was Pete Carroll, his delight at the end of the game.
Oh,
he didn't do the, I'm a professional football coach, I'm not going to show emotion. He was overjoyed for just beating Russell Wilson.
He's too old to care anymore.
Yeah.
The red zone turnovers for the Broncos were like they played well enough, I guess, to win, but not smart enough to win. And one of the producers before the show, Sarah, brought up to me how Pete Carroll challenged that call, and that also was like in my mind when I was watching it, like there's no way that this works. Like, it was him and Nathaniel Hackett trying to ruin the game. And I guess Pete wasn't. He just was burning a timeout that maybe he needed at some point. But not only did Pete Carroll win, but he won the way that he wanted to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like he would have been as giddy if he won like 42-40. But winning in a 1 point game below 20 for both sides, like that is good defense and turnovers, punching the ball out. This feels like the way that Pete Carroll is he's always been telling Russell, like, this is how you win at football. And then he comes in. Russell wanted to put up probably 50 points and show Pete Carroll that you should have just let me cook. But instead, Pete Carroll's like, nah, I've been around for a long time. This is how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, it wasn't even the full Pete Carroll experience of like, we're going to run the ball in weird situations. Yeah. It was just the Pete Carroll of it, of like winning and grinding out a close game, which was, very, very funny. The other thing.
Okay, good.
Nathaniel Hackett. Is he a third Hasselbeck? Looks identical to the two of them.
Maybe he is. The running the ball well was definitely something that both sides did. They both really ran the ball surprisingly well. I guess spin it forward a little bit. Does this change your perception at all about the outlook for both of these teams? I kind of have more confidence in the Seahawks than I should, even though, like, I guess I thought they were going to be like poop. Like, I just thought they were really bad.
That's the one. I don't think this really changes anything about Denver. Like, I think this is probably a blip. And Russ didn't look bad. These are all things that will probably be cleaned up. You know, we continue to be amazed that Javonte Williams doesn't get more carries because it seems like every time he touches the ball, he's unstoppable. And all of the receivers are good. Yeah, I mean, Seattle just looks competent. And Geno Smith looks like he's a real starting quarterback, not someone who is going to be like, an abomination out there every single week. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to be good, but I don't think that they're going to be atrocious like we've seen tanking teams in the past be atrocious.
And I was so happy to see Jerry Jeudy get loose, like healthy and with a reasonable quarterback. He had 102. That was nice to see and scary for DBs. And that touchdown that he had on the sideline where it seemed like he was indecisive. And then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to run past you. Like that's feels like rare speed. And Russell threw for 340, which is kind of crazy, averaging 8 yards per attempt. Pretty impressive day for him, but not enough to win. But I think it doesn't change my opinion. They're still in the group of death. So they could potentially miss the playoffs, but I think they'll figure it out. They won't fumble the ball in the red zone as much or ever again. I hope that's not something that you can rely on. And that defense is encouraging. I mean, Bradley Chubb getting those sacks when he did, and Patrick Surtain standing up and playing well against Metcalf. Like I think this defense is going to be special.
Yeah, the Broncos are one of those teams where every single time they call out a player on the Broncos, you're like, oh, I've heard of that guy. This team's really good. That guy's really good. This team's really good. Yeah. I think they'll be completely fine. I think this is a small blip on the radar for a team that's going to be very good.
So I think we can get to the rest of the pod, but one thing that we've learned from this game is if you have a choice, do not try to kick the second longest field goal in NFL history to win a game.
And the other thing is don't say Broncos country, let's ride a million times, then go back to Seattle and lose.
Did you see the suit he wore too? Like he really set himself up to be mocked. He wore like a tuxedo, lime tuxedo. Oh,
I hope he wears that on the way home.
I always think about that in NBA games, particularly. But you have to like pack a black suit, a backup suit, because he has to fly home in that.
That's exactly. I always think of. Do you remember when LeBron wore the short suit to the finals?
Oh yeah.
And then he had the pretty much broken hand and he yelled at the reporter, "Be better!" And he stood up wearing his shorts. I'm just imagining Russell Wilson at the press conference doing that.
Oh man! Oh gosh, LeBron. He's the greatest. All right, more show. We'll travel forward in time now, or no, we're traveling back right now, right? Yeah. So, Charlie, do I sound like I'm on drugs? I'm not, I promise. I just think of weird stuff sometimes.
The come down from football is pretty severe on week 1. We are at our weirdest after 48 hours of binging like barbaric football.
Oh, man. Okay, so full disclosure, it's halftime at the Monday night game right now, so you might hear some oohs and ahs if we pop up and respond to that. If it gets any more interesting, then maybe we'll record some more and tag it on the beginning or the end. But I really want to start with the Cowboys because it's ESPN rules. We know you're doing an ESPN show. If the Cowboys are available to discuss, you either start with Cowboys or you start with LeBron James. So I'm starting with the Cowboys, and I had a weird thought. Not that my original thought wasn't weird enough, but this was weird too. I had a little bit of relief wash over me after Dak got hurt. I'm sorry.
No, you stole my take. I texted you before this podcast that had a zag.
Oh my gosh. So we're on the same page.
Okay.
Because I was dreading this full season of me every week having to explain why Dak Prescott is not winning and why they're not protecting Dak Prescott and saying that CeeDee Lamb has not developed into a true number one and this defense hasn't stopped anybody. Though, I was really impressed with Trayvon Diggs. They attacked Trayvon Diggs and he played well. They attacked him with double moves, which was like the book on Trayvon Diggs is he's going to sit on you and jump routes and double move him and he'll get sixed up. He played pretty well. Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons. He's unblockable except for occasional Leonard Fournette blindside double teams. So the defense wasn't that bad. They couldn't really seem to stop the run against Tom Brady or against the Bucs. So they really didn't have a chance to attack the weakness of that Bucs offense. But all in all, none of this matters because I don't feel any more confident. I was high on the Bucs before when a lot of people were turning on them after the injury. So, but I don't feel like I left this game feeling any more confident in them. And yes, the Cowboys season is over. I looked at the quarterbacks that they could potentially get, and it ain't nobody out there that can save them.
Well, I think let's get this like one piece at a time. We'll start with the Cowboys and then go with the Bucs. So the interesting thing about Dak to me is the storyline that would have surrounded him. And I think this is something that we've talked about a little bit, that he had a great situation and he's a pretty good quarterback, fringe top 10, top 12 quarterback, and situation can bring him up or down. But what's weird now in the NFL is that there are a lot of pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of great quarterbacks. There's not even a lot of
but the pretty good ones is a tier now.
Yeah.
But do you remember like even 5 years ago, you have a pretty good quarterback. You're like, franchise guy, I love him. He's our dude. Yeah. Now he's in that mediocre tier where if he goes with the tide of his team and goes up or down, you either like that guy's a franchise guy or you say that guy sucks. And Dak, if he learned anything from Baker Mayfield last year, is that one, and Russell Wilson, who played with the hammer finger, one, you don't play hurt when you're a quarterback and you're going to get blamed for everything. And two, when you're in that tier, you're going to be as good as your team is. And the Cowboys, it took 5 minutes of that game. The Cowboys are bad. Their season is over. They are bad. Sometimes you just know and you watch the team and you're like, okay, this team, blow it up, start it over. And that's where that Cowboys team is.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, is the idea. And I like the big concepts. Like our first week, we like inadvertently landed on like organizational stability and generally culture as like the big concept of the week. But I do think that we have stumbled onto another big concept, is that the world changed around him, around Dak Prescott. Like it kind of feels like, this is a bit hyperbolic, but it kind of feels like he's Kodak and the iPhone just came out, like Dak is he's an awesome camera. And like your whole life, you're like, man, that's a franchise camera right there. And then all these iPhones came into the league. Like Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. Dak Prescott was a great quarterback 15 years ago. Dak Prescott was a really good quarterback 10 years ago. 5 years ago, Dak Prescott was a strong, like a good, still probably really good quarterback. Now, it's like, man, it kind of, now I'm being a bit like dramatic for effect, but it kind of feels like now Dak Prescott is a game manager, which is just the biggest disrespect out there. It's just because the bar got elevated by Mahomes and Herbert and Burrow and Lamar. All these dudes came in the league. And the person who is suffering in this environment more than anybody, I've pointed this out before, is Russell Wilson. The game we're watching right now is because Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, those were the old guard. And Russell came on the scene, won a Super Bowl, and then started playing really well. And it was clear that they were going to hand it over to Russell Wilson. And he was waiting in the wings in Seattle, ready to take that mantle. And then all these mutants came in the league. I didn't even mention Josh Allen, who what he did to my man Jalen Ramsey. Not even the passes. It was the other stuff that really upset me. But yeah, and it just feels like Russell and Dak were just like caught in this disruption, and that these guys came in doing new stuff.
And this is one of the things that like it used to be an excellent quarterback, play within the system. Throw that out. Patrick Mahomes is the system. Josh Allen is the system. They're such freaks of nature that they break all of the paradigms of what we watched in football. And that's why it's awesome, for the record. That's why they have made Red Zone Channel and Sundays incredible, because like it seems impossible. Can I give Dak a piece of advice?
By all means.
As the non-NFL player on this podcast, Dak, if you're listening, don't be tough. You may have been told as a football player your whole life to be tough. Don't be tough.
No.
Come back in 2023. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I will text his brother later on. Tell Dak chill out. Go ahead and ride this thing on out. I mean, there really is. I was gonna say he's already gotten paid, so there's no motivation. But I guess that would be the reason why maybe you can be tough, because Baker, what a travesty. We don't have to go back into that. I mean, we could talk about that game, but I don't know. We'll save that for the end. They're more interesting. There's more interesting and more fun games to talk about. But I think you're right. Yeah, Dak, don't be tough. Also, I don't know, like find some green ooze and become a mutant, as a Ninja Turtle reference for anybody who is not 40 like me or almost 40, and become a mutant like the rest of these mutants. I don't know what else to do, because it's just not fair. So I don't know. There's not much else to talk about in this game to me. Tom Brady looks young. He's ageless. That defense, Todd Bowles. When did they start doing interviews between quarters? Like interviewing the coach between quarters? Like, we're not baseball. We're not basketball. We're not desperate. What are we doing?
It's also like the thing about that, those interviews are never good. No. Like in any sport, they're never good. I mean, occasionally you'll get like a really frustrated Nick Saban or Greg Popovich, which can be entertaining, but not good. Not good. I have one question for you. This is the last thing I got on the Cowboys really quick. And we discussed this very briefly yesterday, but CeeDee Lamb, a fantasy football guy, he got drafted like he was one of the elite wide receivers because we thought he was going to get all of the volume that Amari Cooper left, that Michael Gallup was not getting because he's not back from his ACL. He just he looks really cool in the uniform. Yes. He has a great number when he makes body bending catches. He looks awesome. But if he was just John Lamb, would 2 for 29 make more sense? CeeDee Lamb seems like he's got to be 8 for 144 and 2 tutties in that game.
I think the dreads help. I think the fact that he does explosive things helps occasionally, and that he was really incredible in college. I think all of that helps people to believe that he is going to put up big numbers. But it wasn't like he wasn't targeted. I think he got 11 targets. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was targeted, but he did not produce. And part of it was the offensive line. Part of it was Dak. Like, it's not all of him. The same way that quarterbacks are dependent position, receivers are dependent position. But he wasn't that guy last year either. Yeah. He had a lot of drops last year. So I don't know. I know Stephen Jones had a quote today that was suggesting that CeeDee Lamb needed to work on becoming a number one, a true number one. I don't exactly know what that means. I guess maybe he gave him some specifics behind closed doors. I don't know. Particularly in Dallas, what does it mean to become a true number one? Who knows? But
be Michael Irvin.
He ain't it yet. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm done with this game. I don't have much to say on the Bucs. They'll get tested again soon. Joe Burrow, are they going to protect him? I mean, they went and addressed the offensive line, and he got sacked 7 times and through 4 interceptions?
4 interceptions, 1 fumble, 5 turnovers.
All right. I rewatched the sacks again today. I was desperately looking for a way to blame it on Joe Burrow, because we know last year Joe Burrow held onto the ball a long time, took a lot of hits. They broke down, the offensive line on the sacks, at least. I didn't look at all the pressures, and the pressure rate wasn't crazy. Pass rush win rate for the Bengals was not as bad as I anticipated, having watched all the sacks. But when I watched those sacks, it did seem like they were issues on the offensive line. So I could also point to the offensive scheme. There were situations where there were no outlets. There was nowhere to go with it. The Steelers didn't have to blitz to get pressure, but when they did blitz, there was a deep seam on one of the sacks and 2 deep comebacks. What else are you supposed to do with it? The running back got caught up in the mess, so maybe he was the outlet, but there was no choice there. But by and large, I wanted to blame Joe Burrow because I thought the offensive line was improved, but I couldn't. They still just can't block for him.
So I read a couple articles about this, doing some research. I grinded some tape last week. I was like, I didn't have enough facts to push back on Domonique. I am going to blame Joe Burrow. And that's why I think that the Bengals should feel great about that game, because he's going to play better. Joe Burrow was pressured on 29.2% of his dropbacks.
Right.
So, that was 10th best in the league, which is, if you're in the top third and you're the Bengals, you have to feel ecstatic about that. And they basically signed a new right side of the line, and that side of the line only gave up 4 pressures. So those signings actually worked. I think the bigger thing is he was just like not making Joe Burrow decisions, and like not all of the sacks are his fault, but not all the sacks are the offensive line's fault. And you also expect that the left side of the line, which they're, had a lot of faith in, will play better. The thing that's interesting to me is that, like, we don't think the Steelers are that bad. And obviously, TJ Watt got hurt at the end of the game, but like Ja'Marr Chase scored 3 touchdowns in the final minute of that game, and only one of them counted. Like, the Bengals had they missed 2 kicks. Like, they had every opportunity to win a game coming back with the worst performance from their quarterback, wherever the blame falls on that. Actually, it was still probably the worst we've seen Joe Burrow play as a pro. You have to imagine that that's not going to happen moving forward. And if you go into the locker room, you're like, Zach Taylor's like, all right, throw that one in the trash. You guys played like dog water. Next week, if you just do a few things better, you'll be awesome again.
Yeah, so the blaming Joe Burrow, I'm with you. I'm fine with that. And I think we might have read the same article, because it was one pressure between the 2 additions apiece. Each of them had 1 pressure. That's fine. But we're talking about the line as a whole.
Yeah.
There was pressure on the other side.
Yeah.
The play design was also part of the concern. And the reason why I went with pass rush win rate over pressure rate, because pressure is not always it's not always the fault of the offensive line, which we talked about. It could be a fault of Joe Burrow holding onto the ball too long.
Yeah.
Either way, all in all, it comes down to your quarterback can't get sacked 4 times, whosever fault it is. And maybe it's a different person or a different unit each time, where it's the coach's poor scheme. It's Joe Burrow, poor decision-making. It's the left side of the offensive line not holding up. But they lost to the Steelers in a game that they should have won. And they should have won this despite all the turnovers and despite all the sacks.
Yep.
So they can walk away feeling encouraged because of all of those things, but they can also walk away and be a little worried because there's some comfort that comes in knowing where the problem is. I almost rather be like, this guy's it, or we have to design better plays, or Joe Burrow get rid of the ball more easily, because then we can spend the whole week focusing on it. Right now, it's like, I don't know. We're still going to give up a bunch of sacks and maybe a bunch of turnovers, because at any time, any of these problems can pop up again. Because I'm not sure Zach Taylor is as good a coach as his playoff run would have us believe.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, Zach Taylor actually deserves some blame for Ja'Marr Chase scoring a touchdown and him not challenging that. Like, that's coach has got to walk into the post-game press conference and be like, hand out, my bad, guys. We just scored the game-winning touchdown, and I didn't see it. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I know you loathe to do this, but put me in, like, if you're in the locker room and everyone's like, every unit could have played better if we just didn't do dumb. Like, you don't walk away from that game being like, okay, well, next week we just won't be as dumb. We'll be fine.
No, I completely understand that if I'm on the team or if I'm a fan of the team, that's fine. But when from analysis standpoint, like, I almost would like to know where to put the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Or a better analogy is like, we need stitches, but no, they got a bunch of Band-Aid cuts all over. You don't know where it's. Well, this analogy is a mess, but you get the point.
Right on.
They don't know where the issue is.
Right where the appendix is.
That was the difference in all of this. Joe Burrow's appendix. It's weird coming out of this game and not feeling all that good about either team, but the Steelers, seems like they lost TJ Watt for a substantial portion of the season, who was like a one-man team, it felt like. Well, I guess it's not fair to Minkah Fitzpatrick, who also making play after play after play. Mitch Trubisky made one. He made one really big one at a certain point.
Don't feel good about Mitch. Don't feel great about Mitch Biscuit coming out of that game.
I don't know. Yeah, I really enjoyed the way that Tomlin did the AB dance in the locker room. I don't think that they're gonna have much more reason to celebrate the rest of this season if TJ Watt does not miraculously heal. And I mean, I guess Pickett could turn out to be a great quarterback once he gets the chance, but they tried to give this game away, despite like this is the other side of the coin. Like the Bengals should feel good for losing.
Yeah.
Because all the mistakes like
Statement
backup
loss.
snapper. Yeah.
Statement
Backup
loss.
snapper, blocked field goal, like a lot of things that rarely happen. Your all-pro quarterback played poorly. Like those things can make you feel good. The Steelers, y'all really need to celebrate and enjoy this win because all that stuff went wrong and you still probably should have lost.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing really to look forward to for the Steelers. Your best players at the minimum out for 6 to 8 weeks. Najee Harris is another foot injury. They say he's fine, but after a Lisfranc sprain in the offseason, George Pickens, who was hyped up as like the next Randy Moss, was not really a factor in this game. Mitch Trubisky is still erratic and inaccurate and a poor decision maker. I just went into this. So my logic going into this week was there could be nothing worse than having Big Ben out there because he had to get the ball out of his hands so quickly. And I was like, this will be an upgrade, even if it's someone who I think is bad in Mitch Trubisky. And then you actually see it in practice. And I think that this is one of those things where you don't realize it's just your truth of organizational stability. And like Big Ben was actually just like a stable. Yeah. You knew what you're getting. You're getting 9-8 last year. And they're going to be bad this year. Sorry, Steelers fans.
No, I was feeling bad. I'm looking at the square where our producer Christina Buswell is and feeling guilty. Let's move on. Let's go stay in the division and talk about the Ravens. Yeah. They had quite defensively, at least, incredible. And I know you want to knock the Jets, and people say the Jets aren't good. The Jets are an NFL team, and the Ravens defense looked outstanding, but it's hard for me. And their offense was good too. Lamar was not the running threat that we expect him to be. He passed the ball reasonably well and really attacked them deep down the field when they were when the Jets were kind of loading the box, and that was the difference in the game in my view. The great Ravens defense and those big shots. But I still leave this game worried about the Ravens because the injury bug. It's just like it's still in that locker room. Poe's injury did not he did not sacrifice his ACL to protect everyone else because they lost Kyle Fuller, who was in large part because Marcus Peters was out at corner. And Jawan James, the left tackle that was in for Ronnie Staley, also went down. So down to a third string tackle and a third string corner, and we're just out of week 1.
Small tangent. We'll get back to the. I saw Marcus Peters at the airport like a month and a half ago. He was so happy that I recognized him. I don't think anyone, because normal size guy as a cornerback, was shocked that I recognized him. Very, very lovely guy. I have a question for you about the Ravens passing game. I want you to explain this to me in the audience like I'm a 5-year-old because I don't quite get it. Everything I read about this game, and honestly, this was the game that I watched the least, just because the outcome never seemed in doubt, and we had so much great football surrounding it. But Lamar Jackson was just driving the ball downfield. His ADOT was 12 yards, which led the league in week 1. And I feel like this is what we've wanted for Lamar Jackson, an offense that like highlights, they can stretch the field downfield, and also, the running will always be there. We know that with Lamar. He's still the most explosive quarterback running football we've ever seen. But then I read about it and it says that Greg Roman is basically using the same heavy sets he's always done. So like, what is different with the Ravens offense when you looked at this that allowed Lamar to unlock a more vertical passing game?
So I actually, in watching the game, I had a different experience than what you're expressing. I remember thinking early in the game, and I think I also tweeted it, is that I did not like what the Ravens were doing. They were spreading everyone out and dinking and dunking with Lamar, which is not his forte. That's not what he does well. And then they kind of hit me like that's where he needs work. Maybe this is what they're doing to try to help him prepare for the situation where he's going to have to bring them back from behind and is going to have to take what a defense is giving them and kind of pick them apart. And he was like inconsistent doing that. When he got better was when they started taking those big shots down the field, which to me, that is the point of Lamar Jackson. Is he is such a threat in the running attack that you cannot hold the Ravens to less than 4 yards a carry unless you fully commit your safeties to the running game. And then once you do that, they're just going to keep taking shots down the field. And that's either going to force you to take a safety back there or they're going to score a touchdown. And so I guess this, in my view, at least, and I'm not in the Ravens like strategy meetings, but in my view, that is what they did when Lamar won the MVP, and that is what they are best at, and that is like all that. I mean, that's the best version of Lamar. But there are these situations, and like we talk about, all quarterbacks have some weaknesses, and the situations that would be most challenging for Lamar is when a team is just sitting back in a soft zone and is like, all right, you guys have 1 quarter, you need to score 2 touchdowns, and we're gonna have 3 people deep and soft zones underneath, which makes it harder for Lamar to scramble, and we're gonna make you just pick everything apart. And that's kind of what it felt like they were like challenging Lamar to do early in the game. That's the only thing that made sense to me, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to throw the ball against a team that's loading the box. Like, you want to make them pay, for loading the box. You don't want to make them pay for 5 yards. You want to make them pay 30 yards and make them second guess, because then right now there's no price for them loading the box. And also he threw a no-look touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Never
and
forget
he did throw 3 touchdown passes that were more than 20 yards in the air. So they eventually got there.
Right. They did eventually get there, but it just felt it was, I mean, I guess that's part of it, like keeping them honest, but I don't know. It felt
so I guess the follow-up question
to me.
Yeah, and if it's kind of this is a tough question to ask after you see a stunning performance like that, but like, did we really learn much from the Ravens then if these questions are still going to be there when they have to play the Chiefs and the Bills, teams that might go up 2 touchdowns against them at any point?
No, I mean, we didn't. Like, it's going to be on the Ravens defense. Like that, the defense looked really good. The injury to Fuller is going to be a problem. Maybe they'll be able to overcome it. Hopefully they don't have any more injuries, but for this team to be a Super Bowl contender, their defense is going to have to play well. It's going to be hard for them to, I guess that's not fair. They have the potential to be so dynamic offensively, while it doesn't look like everyone else's. They can go score for score with the Chargers or the Chiefs. It might take longer, but they can do it, just like anyone else. But I think the pressure that's on the Ravens defense is different because they can't have like a bad half. Whereas you could see the Chiefs having a bad half defensively, and nobody's coming out of the locker room sweating.
Mahomes likes to go down 24. We learned anything over the. I mean, I think we should pat ourselves on the back because we just did 0 overreaction to the Ravens, the most overreactable team from week 1. We 0 overreactions.
Oh, man, they got the Dolphins next week, so I think everyone is going to overreact to the outcome of that game.
Yep. I mean, maybe the most fun game.
I think
Thursday night's the most fun game.
Yeah. I think it's a perfect segue from Ravens into Chiefs Bills. I know they didn't play each other, but they're going to eventually in the playoffs. Coming out of this weekend, it feels like those two teams are inevitable, right? Like at some point, it kind of feels like the 49ers and Cowboys. You're a little bit younger than me, but growing up, the NFL in the 90s, for me at least, the NFL belonged to the 49ers and the Cowboys. And whoever won that NFC championship game, we all knew was going to win the Super Bowl. It feels like we have entered that
I was going to go Cavs Warriors, but I appreciate the nostalgia.
Cavs Warriors. No. The reason why you can't go Cavs Warriors
is
same
because conference.
They have to be on the same side of the bracket. Patrick Mahomes is good. It don't matter who you surround him with. And the value of coaching, I think we on this podcast do not forget how important it is, but it can be forgotten from time to time. And as much as we love guys like Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid really don't have bad offensive seasons. No matter who's under center, like he gets the best out of just about everyone. So there should be no surprise that Patrick Mahomes came out and looked like Patrick Mahomes, despite the fact that Tyreek Hill wasn't there.
I honestly, I thought the Chiefs offense looked just as good as it ever had, if not better. I mean, that's like a crazy thing to say, but like he could have had 6 or 7 touchdowns in that game. And for the record, Patrick Mahomes, second quarterback we've asked. If you listen to this podcast, next time run it up. We never see quarterbacks. We see so many quarterbacks stop at 5. I would love to see it with 6 or 7, much cooler number. I saw people on Twitter calling him mid-range Mahomes because of the way he was using the offense. Very lame nickname for Patrick Mahomes, but no, I mean, like it. I think that you hit the nail on the head with coaching, and it's not to take anything away from Mahomes because he would do it. You know, he looks incredible, but you know, they got sort of flummoxed by that too high stuff last year. And they're like, okay, let's just change it. Let's use a different depth of target. Let's make Yak a thing. Let's see what the 49ers and some of the best offenses in the league have been able to eat with over the last couple of years. And then let's give it to the most talented quarterback in the history of the NFL. And it worked. It was stunning.
I mean, you said it seemed like they were as good as they always have been. Statistically, they were as good as they always have been. It's not, it seems like they were as good as the Bills were. The Chiefs had the best offense from an efficiency standpoint of any team in the league after week 1, which may not surprise you. Maybe it does surprise you, but it shouldn't. I have to be honest. You know how much I appreciate what Tyreek Hill brings to a game.
Yeah.
I did not think that the Chiefs were going to like be bad, but I didn't think they were not going to lose a step. I didn't think that he was just going to be getting Juju Smith-Schuster wide open and random new guys in number 10 jerseys. Like, what?
The number 10 jersey, no matter who it was going to look like Tyreek in that game. It was awesome.
We've gotten accustomed to it.
One stat that I thought was hilarious. Like, we've talked a little bit about, first of all, they were playing the Cardinals. And the Cardinals also just did not look very good in their defense. I mean, you said they were solid last year, but I don't think anyone would say that their cornerbacks are solid.
Nope.
And this stat that I got from the Ringer was that Mahomes averaged 12 yards per drop back when Arizona didn't blitz. And it was basically like, hey, if you're not going to blitz, you guys have terrible cornerbacks, and I will eat you alive. Yeah. I will never make a mistake there.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible with Mahomes. Yeah. And it's not even just the cornerbacks; it's attacking the middle field also. Like it's everybody, man. Surtain and Metcalf going at it. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. No, they keep going back and forth. Awesome. They're pushing each other. Metcalf just made a catch. I'm rooting for Surtain, obviously, in that particular matchup because I have personal biases. But yeah, I mean, there is no answer. There's no like one coverage that stops Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So like you're gonna have to mix it up. You're gonna have to confuse him, or at least try to confuse Bieniemy and Reed on the other side also, and just lining up and challenging Patrick Mahomes to beat you. Like, this is what we do. I mean, I think the Raiders were the cover 3 champions last year, and Patrick Mahomes ate so much against them. It was so fun. I don't know what else there's to say about them. Like, I'm looking forward to the challenge. They have the Chargers coming up. We'll talk about that on the Thursday pod. We'll preview that as much as we can, but I'm looking forward to them getting a real challenge. I think Cliff Kingsbury experiment, he got an extension, so I guess they're happy with him, but I'm not sure that he's showing us anything. I noticed that, like I brought up for the Bengals game, like I noticed a couple of situations which it didn't appear that Kyler had an outlet. And either he was not seeing it or reading it and making a decision, which I guess falls back on the criticism of him studying film, or there was not one there, which I guess maybe you can pull that off when you have an athlete like Kyler Murray, but it just seemed disjointed and it's like uninspiring. That organization, you would think having a talented young quarterback like Kyler, things should be looking up. It just doesn't feel all that promising. Just bad vibes on top of bad football. Feels like a bad place to be.
Kyler somehow ended up with decent numbers in that game, but it felt like it was just because it was so out of reach. I mean, I don't know. That situation just seems so toxic. Like, Kyler seems like a flat quarterback from his rookie year to now, to the naked eye. And Cliff, I don't think anyone really thinks is a good coach, as a good head coach. I don't know. I think we're careening towards, we just gave both these guys an extension, but we're going to have to, make a significant change at some point. Doesn't it just have that feel? It doesn't like, this is the least happy extension team where, coach, GM, quarterback all got extensions that you can imagine.
Right. Yeah. And it feels like everyone but Kyler should have to go, I would think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll figure it out. So the Chiefs look good. They're one of my Final Four teams. I want to go and check in on the rest of my Final Four teams. So I'm feeling good about the Chiefs. Feeling okay about the Ravens. The injuries worry me. They beat the Jets. Eagles, Lions, another Final Four team of mine. Not the Lions, it's the Eagles. The Eagles are fine. I think when you look around the league, you feel better about the Eagles. If the big question going into Sunday was Jalen Hurts, I think you can feel great about the Eagles. There are lots of other really good teams that were favorite type teams that did not play well and even lost. So they won. They shouldn't have been that close against the Lions, but it didn't really feel like it was in doubt. And Jalen played well, which is all that matters, in large part because A.J. Brown makes life easy.
Oh, my God. He's so sick. I mean, also, the thing that the Eagles have to be feeling the best about is the Cowboys are done.
Yeah.
The Giants are a year away.
Don't you disrespect my Giants. They're
a year away.
Don't you disrespect my Giants.
Yeah, I mean,
I picked them to win and they won, so I'm feeling good about it. I'm the only one on earth.
It was a nice shout. It was a nice shout, but are you going to pick him to win the division?
Huh? What is exactly? I'm bringing up. We got bad service. These damn Zooms.
And then, of course, that team in Washington. They're not. Jahan Dotson,
you're my that guy. Team in Washington. They're your team.
My team in Washington.
Your team.
They're not good.
This is like apology season where all the fan bases come out and demand apologies all the time. And I feel like Carson Wentz was pretty good. It's too bad he doesn't have any fans though. Like he's already ruined all his fans because I feel like Carson Wentz fans should be demanding apologies because he did some Wentzian things, but he was all. I mean, it was the full Wentz experience, right? It was like, why are you throwing it right at the D-line's chest? Also, holy shit, look at that pass. Like from play to play, it was what it's like to be on a Carson Wentz team. You like this roller coaster?
I got to say, anyone who took the really long position on that Wentz versus Dak debate, today is your day. But no, I mean, honestly, like I'm a masochist, so I watched a lot of that game and I watched them almost piss away that lead. And the Wentz thing is really, it's a lot. It's a lot because he goes through like 30-minute periods of real time when you're watching a football game, which feels like an eternity, without making even like an average play from the quarterback position. And then he just drops the ball, 30 yards downfield to the outside shoulder of Jahan Dotson. And you're like, first of all, who's that guy? Oh, he's our first round pick we took after all of the sexy wide receivers were taken ahead of him in the first round. And then second of all, you're like, how could you not just, throw an easy pass up the seam when someone's running wide open, but you can make that throw. I mean, I don't know. Washington will be fine. If 8 and 9 can win the division, sure, Washington's back in it. But like,
you haven't gotten any. I mean, the D line, they still don't have Young back, but the D line got pressure, which is
Jonathan
what this
Allen,
defense is built around.
Yeah.
So you're not optimistic at all. I don't want to spend any more time on this. It's a short question.
I ruined it.
You don't have any optimism. Like after that showing, you just say, as the Bengals, we have no hope of winning this division.
Look, there's nothing that could ever happen that could give me optimism as a Washington football fan. Ever. It's not unless Snyder sell the team, then I'll have optimism.
You're not the R's anymore. You don't have to say Washington football fan. You can call yourself a Commanders fan, a commie.
I'm not used
commando.
To it. I did like the signs that said "Take command."
I saw those, and they just go hail to the Commanders now. Do they just sing the same song? Just take out the racist part and put Commanders? Like how do they do that?
I don't know. I don't know if they still do like the hashtag HTTR, but I still say it on social media, but I don't know if that's like a subversive thing or if it's just now like a
I feel like
acronym that makes no sense.
before we get to the last team in my Final Four, I feel like I should explain for anybody who's watching on YouTube that I'm in a hotel. I did not purchase this horrible art that's behind me. It's not my choice. I would not have like a white lady tossing her hair and ombre background. That's not my style. It's just not my style. You actually will see some art later on, hopefully, that was chosen by the Foxworth family. All right. I've stalled long enough. I will take my medicine. The 49ers, fumble. Oh, wow. That's a bad fumble right there. All right, the 49ers, my other Final Four team, lost to the Bears. I don't know what I should call the Bears in my life. Bears fans, at least, hate me. So they're like my nemesis. No, they're not. No, you're not rise to the level of rival to me, not these Bears fans. So I don't know. Am I just being like defensive when I say nothing that happened on that field matters? It was a damn monsoon. What are we doing? They were playing in a swamp, standing water, and like torrential downpours. It is not a football game. So what are we doing here?
Yes, I all of these things have gone through my mind as I too, crapped on the Bears. But I think Bears fans, they were like very upset about how we talked about the Bears.
Yeah.
I disagree with their ire. We want the same thing. We wanted what was best for Justin Fields. Really, you should be thanking us for bringing up what's best for him. But to me, no. I mean, I'm not as confident to just throw it away. I thought Lance looked really bad. I watched a lot of that game because of let's put the Bears conversation to rest.
They won this game. Are you now optimistic that the Bears are good?
No.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Conversation about the Bears over. Let's move on to the part of this conversation that's interesting. Trey Lance. Yeah, go ahead. I would love to hear your analysis of Trey Lance.
I just expected someone playing quarterback for Kyle Shanahan to have execute a really easy offense and play well no matter what the conditions are. And obviously that was an insane rainstorm. I'm not expecting him to, run for 85 yards, throw for 330 and 5 TDs. But when you have a lead and you have someone who can coach the best running game in football and create magic in all of these open holes, you just need to be competent. And he really looked like someone who is not ready to play NFL quarterback. And that, in a week from now, I might look really dumb for saying that, but this is a really small sample size and we have no other sample of Trey Lance.
I get what you're saying. There were situations in that game where it seemed like he was indecisive or making the wrong decisions. I still like the sample size, one game. And I don't even know if I can count this as a game of sample size because, again, the conditions. I don't like this might be my confirmation bias seeping in because I picked them to be a Final Four team and I said Trey Lance was going to ball out and it's all going to be good. And I'm looking for any reason to believe that it's still possible. Maybe that's the case. But I think that a rare monsoon is reason enough.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he just had a bad game. Like Aaron Rodgers played in a dome and had a bad game. And we can explain that away by saying, well, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be all right because he's Aaron Rodgers. But we're not saying that the weather was a problem. It's so rare. Like, guys don't play in this ever. So I don't know. It feels like wait and see to me. No reason to jump to a conclusion.
I think that's totally fair because, like, as I said, I might look really dumb, but I'm about to look dumber because, like, what happens if they lose to the Seahawks next week and then they have the Broncos and the Rams in the next two games? Like, do you think Trey Lance will survive that stretch as the starter if they lose that next game?
Yeah, that's tough. That's a bad spot. He really needed to win this first game.
You got to make the short putts.
Really needed to blow out the Bears and score a lot of points and give everybody a glimpse of what it looks like. Because of Kyle Shanahan, even if he's not good, he's going to have some good games. Um, hopefully he has enough of those to give him time to grow into the spot. I have been adamant that they're not going to turn to Jimmy Garoppolo, but I didn't expect a performance like we saw on Sunday. If we get a performance like that in a couple more games where it's not raining, then I'm on board with going back to Jimmy my damn self. So I don't know. This is not much to talk about here because this feels like a wait and see to me, right?
Just our levels of concern are rising. We can leave it at that. Like slightly. Mine slightly higher than yours, but built in neurosis and anxiety.
All right. Is there anything else from the weekend that we need to cover or I guess not from the weekend, but storylines in general? You know what I wanted to talk about? I got a question for you because I already know what the answer is going to be because I know you. Who was the best athlete in all of sports on Sunday?
Oh man, this setup. It's my large adult son, Carlitos Alcaraz, U.S. Open champion.
He's so.
I mean, I can't oversell this because I know a lot of people were not watching the U.S. Open final, but yes, we're talking about a world-class mover on the tennis court. It's not just grace. This is the fastest guy we've ever seen play tennis, so you can hit winners from 20 feet behind the baseline. And he's 19. And I think you'll love this, but he had played 14 hours of tennis. And right before he went out to win the U.S. Open, he tweeted a saying that his grandfather told him, which is cabeza, corazon, cojones, head, heart, nuts. That's how he won the U.S. Open.
All right. Well, I want to see him against some of the greats. Like I saw him against Big Foe, and that was incredible. He was getting to everything. I feel like Tiafoe hit like 3 winners every time, and Alcaraz wouldn't let any of them actually win. So you'll keep us all posted on this going forward. And I got a special guest for everyone. Get excited. Here it comes. All right, this is the special guest that I promised you all. It's my wife, Ashley. So I feel like it's a little unfair that I get to analyze everyone else at their job and no one really analyzes me at my most important job. So I brought in the coach, quarterback, superstar of this Foxworth team, my wife, Ashley Foxworth. What's up, buddy?
Hey, honey. Down there in the dungeon.
Yeah, I know. If people are watching on YouTube, you can see the disparity of Ashley in front of trees and art and
it's a dying plant that I need to water, to be clear.
And I'm a sad basement dweller and a corkboard. Must be nice.
Shut up. One of us has to live simply, so one of us can live well.
That's fair. Thanks, so the reason why I came with this idea is because Ashley first was complaining to me about somehow the Chicago-ness got back to her. I'm being mean to Chicago, and she asked me what I do to Chicago because it's a city that apparently she loves. And I do nothing to Chicago. Chicago's fine. I tried to protect Justin Fields. That's all I tried to do.
I don't watch much football, but I did see a clip yesterday of Justin Fields throwing his body into puddles, like in a fun way, like kids do. Yeah. He looked gleeful and joyful and happy. So I don't understand what you're protecting him from.
That's fair. I was wrong. Justin Fields, stay in Chicago. Good luck to you. Week 1, they won the Super Bowl, so we'll see what happens.
It's just a fun city. I love Chicago. The architecture, the lake.
The architecture.
The tall buildings, they're gorgeous, okay? And then you see tall buildings here, then you go off Michigan Avenue, and then these cute little shops, and you feel like you're in the small town. You can get deep dish pizza, listen to Kanye West, College Dropout College Dropout.
Yeah, you can listen to Kanye West anywhere, by the way.
But you really get to feel it in your spirit there.
And
walk the streets that Lorraine Hansberry once walked.
The deep dish pizza, the best deep dish pizza in the world is no longer in Chicago. I don't know if it ever was, but the best slices of deep dish pizza I had were in New York and Hawaii, surprisingly. It had a really good slice of deep dish down there.
Okay. But back when I used to make you go all the way from our apartment in Harlem to Emmett's, what's that on Christopher Street downtown? Yep. Remember how much of a journey that was to bring me back my deep dish pizza?
If
you were in Chicago, you could go 2 blocks. No, it would be almost as good.
That's fair. All right. Well, I'm not going to Chicago, and they're obviously on their way to the Super Bowl right now. But let's get to the point of this. The premise is you're going to coach. And so we're gonna do Roses and Thorns. We do at dinner with our kids where everyone has to say one good thing that they had today and one bad thing that happened to them today. We're gonna switch it up a little bit, and you got to give me some compliment on my duties as husband, father, miscellaneous human, and then we'll do a thorn, one thing that I need to work on. So let's start with the positive. Do you have a rose for your boy this week? What do you mean, You
I
gotta
have
think
so
about
many.
it.
I'm trying to pick one. We went out to dinner. Okay, we went out to dinner on Friday to celebrate that we made it through our kids' first week of school. And I insisted that we take a pre-date picture, as I often do. And I think because I insist on this, like whenever we go on dates and there's someone to take the picture, which there always is because we have 3 children, and a babysitter around when we go out, he smiled in a picture, guys. There we go. He just smiled, but pictures he does not normally smile, and he smiled like to the point that like I posted on Instagram, and then we're at our daughter's soccer games the next day, and the parents are like, oh my God, Ashley, I don't think I've ever seen him smile before. Mind you, we've gone to school with these parents for like 7, our kids have gone to school. Our oldest has gone to school with these parents for 7 years. I'm like, I know, right? It was special. So
Well, it wasn't
that's a rose. Good job, babe.
In my defense. Well, I guess I shouldn't be defending myself against roses.
No defending it.
There is defense. It's like,
can I hold my screen up? Could they see this big smile? Like you saw all his teeth, guys.
not all of them. I had
a lot of them. More than
so, all right. While you find the picture to show all of my teeth,
look at those teeth.
I'm not opposed to smiling. I smile all the time when people
but not in
do
pictures.
things. So I don't smile.
So then we have these memories captured of our family. It's like you're miserable with us all the time because you don't smile in pictures.
To be honest, it's not about the pictures as much as about Instagram, where it's like you are a prolific Instagrammer and you've made it impossible for me to lie to my friends. And so it's so hard.
Honesty is the best policy.
I agree, but sometimes you got to tell a little white lie. Like when my friends are like, "Hey, you want to come out and hang out with me?" And I'm like, "Nah, busy with the kids." But instead they like screenshot the fact that you have all the kids and you're out somewhere. And I'm like, "Oh no, that must be old or something." So
but that's my business. I should be able to get to share that if I want to. No. You need to tighten up your truths.
You're more than welcome to share it, and you do. But anyway, the point is I got a rose because I smiled.
Congrats.
I will try
You're welcome.
to keep that going. All right, so what do I need to work on?
Okay, I hate to come with 2. But
2?
Because that story reminded me of 1. 1 is that, like I said, my daughter's been at the same school now for 7 years, my oldest. When we go to these soccer games, there's like a 70-30 chance he knows parents' names. Now, I might have said that wrong because it's 30% that he doesn't. Mind you, she's played on these soccer teams twice a year with the same girls for 7 years. So that's something I think you should work on. And my other thing, I can't help but notice looking at you. So he knew he was going to be doing this podcast oftentimes from his basement, right? I didn't know I was going to be doing this. So like, I was like, I'll sit in front of this little plant in this drawing or art, by a friend of mine. But he's known he was doing this. And look behind him. That is the saddest. It's like he wants you guys to feel sorry for him that he's stuck in this dungeon basement. This cork board with, I see like some of my kids' art, some random ass Post-its. It's not even put up well. I had suggestions. I was like, do a gallery wall. Let's, at least fill the freaking cork board. I'm sorry if I've cursed. I don't know. I'm trying not to.
You can curse. You curse a lot. That's my thorn. I know,
but I haven't been right now.
How often you say
anyway, fuck. Okay. So what? Someone once told me it's a sign of intelligence. So but no, it looks awful. That looks awful behind you. And I get that that's not a complaint about you as a father or husband, which is what this is supposed to be about.
Oh no, it's about whatever.
It kind of is because I told you to do better and you refused to listen to me. And so now people have to look at you. Fortunately, I guess a lot of them just listen, but it looks awful.
No. So in my defense, if we're going to treat this the same way we do football analysis, I don't have that speed. So like you asking me to run a 4.3 is similar to, or me asking you to run a 4.3 is similar to you asking me to put together a gallery wall.
No, I said, let me help you. I said, let me do it.
You got to design a game plan that is built around your players' limitations. So your player's limited when it comes to art.
But you did like the same thing. You know what? I'm sorry to add a third thorn, but like social media is not that hard. You're only 39. You act like you can't use Instagram. I've been trying to tell him to put the link to his podcast and his profile.
So now,
but it was wrong at first when you did it. I haven't rechecked it. Yes. Cousins reached out and were like, can you tell them to fix it? And when I told you to fix it, you were like, no. And when I told you to do that, you're like, no, and I don't want your help. Accept help. Like, I'm a helpful person.
I do. You are very helpful.
So
I do
accept
your help. This is me accepting your help right now. This is help accepted. You know what? This is my idea. I said, hey, let's make this podcast a little bit more personal. You know who will be great at it? The most personable, smartest person I know, and beautiful, you, Rose. I give you compliments. Can I defend myself against the memory stuff? Concussions. Boom. Take that. If these parents are upset that I don't remember their names, oh well. They should have hit their head against some other stuff.
They have low expectations of your memory. Don't worry.
That's good. I get them most right. I just like yell out random popular white names, and I normally land on somebody.
There are not only white people on her team.
That's fair, but I mean, the names are pretty consistent. And I actually remember the names that are like a little more unique. I remember those names. And then there's like 10 with the same name, so I'm pretty safe. I just say, what's up, brother?
The same name. You're exaggerating.
You talking about all the Kates, Katies, and Kates?
I'm not putting anyone's name out there. Also, my name's Ashley. Names? Everyone in the 80s was named Ashley. So I am not one to talk about people having not unique names.
And my name is Domonique. Everyone who was awesome in the 80s was named after the human highlight, Domonique
I do actually
Wilkins.
have 2 good girlfriends named Domonique now. So
I mean, it's a unisex name. Yeah. DRC played in NFL. He's named Dominique.
You just spelled it.
Lil Baby is Dominique.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
His first name is Dominique also. Yeah. Mine is spelled uniquely because that's how we do things.
But some people abbreviate Dominique with DOMI, but they call them Domo, DOMO. So you're actually right in that sense. Like your abbreviation actually fits the spelling. So
I am the only Domo. All right. Well, I will try to do better. Maybe we will have you on next week to report on my improvements. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see.
So is the corkboard going to look different next week?
We'll see. We'll find out.
I think probably it won't.
Called a cliffhanger. I love you. I'll come upstairs and give you a big kiss. Thank you.
It's okay. You just keep working.
What you mean it's okay? How dare you? How dare you?
I love you.
Make me pull back the curtain.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.